It is the Fantasy Golf Degenerates show, bringing you the very first tournament of the year as we head off to Hawaii in the beautiful, wonderful worlds of the Pacific. As always, doing his 10th, 11th, 10th, you'll correct me here one way or another, season of the Fantasy Golf Degenerates show. We got Kenneth Kim sitting in the beautiful sex couch over there. Kenny, what's cooking?
It is our 10th season.
10th season
of the Fantasy Golf Degenerates show. Starting off 10 years, started this show December 23rd, 2015. So we are locked into our 10th year of the show. For all the listeners out there who've been since day one or whenever you picked up, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Glad to happen to do something. Pumped about this season, even though it is been a long time doing this. I am excited. I am ready. This season should be fun. And we start off with a big one, signature event for a lot of money. So I'm looking forward to this week, of course.
Yeah, baby. We got the signature event. Also, it's a fun little signature event because we got a bunch of random winners that are going to be finding themselves in this tournament. So we've got some jabronis mixed with some heroes, and it's going to be a fun time. But as always, this show is brought to you by Underdog, which is kind of cooking right now, friends. Use code Mayo, get up to $1,000 deposit bonus over there. It's PGA Best Ball season, friends. You've got to be doing PGA Best Ball. It's so much fun. There's going to be a contest that does not fill. So go ahead, grab 1 or 2 or 150 entries if you can. I rattled off 47 at a Starbucks on Saturday. So if I can do it, you can. So thanks to Underdog for bringing us this wonderful show every week. We appreciate them, as you guys should appreciate them too. And if you appreciate us, we would appreciate you. So there's all sorts of appreciations going on here. So also fun stuff, Kenny. Should we chat about some Underdog?
Yeah, I think we might as well go ahead and start with Underdog for this week, just because, the best ball's coming. We got we're recording this Monday at 5 p.m. I think Thursday morning. Right,
let's just call it Wednesday at midnight.
Let's just go Wednesday at midnight. It'll probably be the lock. Try and get as many drafts as you can get done. So let's talk about the best ball. I know you have the dog dominator. This is sort of your neck of the woods. I'm going to let you go ahead with this and explain, some strategies, some other things going about best ball for this season.
Absolutely. So it's best ball. So I don't know if you guys have done NFL best ball. That just wrapped up. It's wrapping up tonight. Final game wraps up tonight. So PGA Best Ball, you're drafting 10 guys. There's 6 people in a draft. So 60 people go off the board in a single draft. It's best ball, which means that you don't have to figure that lineup out ever again once you draft them. They are yours. The best scores get sucked in. But we're not even really looking for best scores. We're looking for 6 golfers, 6 bodies to make it onto a tournament every single time. So I've got a tool, Mike, we can put it in the description below. It's called the Dog Dominator. It helps you get 6 people in every tournament as much as possible. We haven't seen anyone get 168 yet. There's 168 spots available to generate points for you, but we've seen like 166s, 165s. So that's pushing it with some scheduling and things, but there's no finishing position points. So that's why you just need guys to play in these events. And that's all that matters. So having dead tournaments where you don't have any guys is a big no-no. So this tool really helps you with that. There's 4 legs going on with this. So you have to make sure that you get through the first 7 tournaments, which is the first leg. Then the best team of the 6 advances to the second leg, where that happens again. 7 more tournaments. 1 team advances out of the 6, goes into the third leg. Third leg is the same thing. 6 teams, 7 tournaments in that. And then you advance from the third leg into the finale, where you go up against 261 other people. And it's a free-for-all for $50,000. So that's a fun time. And I'm just looking forward to watching these guys go. Just now we've got a vested long-term interest going on with best ball. So don't be freaking out because it ends on Wednesday night for the Sentry, but there is a Waste Management Phoenix Open one that begins as well in Feb. So you can get into that one later on in the year too. So don't freak out that you haven't got in as many as you want, because there will be more.
That sounds good. I mean, I'm definitely going to have a few drafts when it comes down to it. Now, when it comes to specific strategies and stuff like that, I know early on in the drafts, a lot of people were just going with the top dogs and, the best players out there, but that's really not the way to do it. Go like you said, with the strategy that they have, that you should have going into best ball is filling in every like 6 golfers to play every tournament. That's basically your goal. And that's what
Yes.
you mean by the 168, 167. That's how many spots that you have. It's 168 spots is the total amount of spots you could have for the entire year. So if you get the Dog Dominator that Byron has on his Patreon and you plug in your team, it'll show you on the top left corner how many of the rounds that your team actually gets to fill. And your goal for that is basically get to as close as 168 as possible. I mean, that's really all it means. I mean, if you look at the drafts, I mean, Rory's going in like the 3rd or 4th round. Xander's going in the 3rd or 4th round. Scheffler's going. So it's not your typical draft. You're not just trying to get the best guys out there. There's definitely some major thinking involved. And to make thinking easier, Byron has his tool. And it makes it a lot simpler. Any other tidbits you want to give out about the best ball before we move
Sure.
on?
Even if you're not using this tool, like a rule of thumb can be you almost want 5 signature event guys and 5 non-signature event guys. Basically, that's the general philosophy here, because we're essentially playing 2 different tours this year with the signature events. Got all the big boys playing in these Sentries, the Pebbles, the Genesis Invitationals, and then you've got the guys playing the John Deere Classics and the Rockets and Farmers Insurances and things like that. So you need to be able to complement both sides of your roster with these different golfers. You can't just load up on everyone playing in Pebble Beach, because then the Amex is going to be dead. The Farmers is going to be dead, because the majority of guys that are playing at Pebble in the signature event are not going to be playing in a normal tournament. So that's basically the gist of it. The next level of nuance is getting as close to 168 as possible with golfers that not other people are drafting, DFS leverage, that kind of stuff. So there is a bit of DFS involved, but the most exciting part about this is I'm looking forward to the streaks, which I believe are unlimited. You get a bonus birdie point for every extra birdie. So instead of just making 3 birdies and getting 3 points, in DK, that 4th birdie, you still get the 3 points you got for that 3rd birdie. But in this format, you get another point. So it's technically 4 points, 5 points, so you get as many points as the streak is long, and you also go under par. So it's all sorts of fun. I'm looking forward to it. The difficult courses are going to be fun as well, because you lose like 7 points for a triple.
Now I got a question for you. Now, would it be smart, like when it comes to majors, are those tournaments ones where you don't mind not filling out?
Correct.
Right.
Want, I think I looked at the Cognizant Classic and the Arnold Palmer Invitational, for instance. 2 tournaments in the same exact stint last year. If you put finishing position points in there, Scottie Scheffler won. If you take it out, I think 4 people from the Cognizant beat Scottie Scheffler in just fantasy points without finishing position points. So, and then only 3 people made the top 30 in total fantasy points from the API. The other 27 were all from the Cognizant Classic. So, and those aren't even the good golfers. All the good golfers are playing at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, but just because that course is so difficult, the fantasy points were so reduced, everyone at the Cognizant was just clapping points together. So it was a nice discovery to see there. So absolutely, majors are going to be difficult. I mean, we're playing some tough major venues. Go check out our major preview pod we did as well if you got some downtime at some point this week. It was a fun show. Which, Kenny, I want to chat to you about Scottie Scheffler and the comments you made. I think you got Scottie Scheffler kicked out of the Sentry with the broken hand with all sorts of glass and stuff inside there. You were swearing out the world number 1 with the wine glass in your hand, and he lands up having a Christmas injury with the wine glass in his hand and needing surgery. So do you have anything to say about this?
Well, I have some sources down in the Dallas area who actually told me what really happened to Scottie and how he got that injury. It might not be what you think. So this is what I heard. Not really, but this is what I heard. So Scottie, Meredith, Tom, Sam Burns, all having a little get together over at Scottie's house, right? Holidays, friends, stuff like that. Scottie's probably on its 8th Johnny Walker Blue, big Johnny Walker Blue guy. That's what he drinks. Meredith keeps telling him he needs to lay off the booze and the hard drugs, or she's going to leave him. But he just can't really, he just enjoys it too much. So he's on his like eighth, Johnny Walker Blue. He's feeling really, really nice at this point in time. Now, there have been some rumors in the Dallas, Texas area that Meredith has been stepping out on him with Tom Kim. I know it's hard to see, but that is what I've been hearing down there. And I guess it got back to Scottie. And Scottie's, watching Meredith and Tom over there, and he catches Meredith looking at Tom's butt, right? He just catches Meredith looking at Tom's butt, and he gets his rage is coming back because Scottie is just rage filled. Throughout his whole life, the amount of violence and stuff like that has been a part of his life throughout the years, has just made it so that like anything can, really, really trigger him. So he sees Meredith checking Tom out. And here's the thing. He can't really be mad at Tom because Tom is the biggest drug dealer on the PGA Tour. Like he's selling like that fish scale, shiny, like Coke, right? Like that puro Coke, right? And if you look back to when Tom, three putted at the BMW Championship to get out of the top 50, that was actually to help some guys, that owed him money, right? Because in reality, Tom doesn't want to break legs, but he will if he must. Right. And so basically this is, so that's why he missed those putts at the BMW. So he can give other guys a little bit of a chance to, to get into those signature events. He doesn't need those signature events. He makes more selling blow to the fucking PGA Tour guys than he does playing golf. All right. Let's be real, because honestly, it's all a whole bunch of rich white guys. They're going to do that blow. Right. They're going to do that blow. He's a little pissed off that DJ went to live. But they still work stuff out, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what Tom does. So Scottie, he can't get angry at Tom because, it's his dealer. You can't get pissed at his dealer. But, he feels the rage building up. So he pulls the 8-ball out of his pocket, just fucking chops up a humongous fucking line on that kitchen table, just goes to town on it, gets back up. And he just loses it. He just can't help it. And he looks at Meredith. Meredith has seen this look in the past. Like after years and years of abuse, she knows the looks that Scottie gives where she knows she's in trouble. And this is one of the times where she was obviously in trouble. So she runs to the bathroom. Okay. She runs to the bathroom. Scottie chases her full speed. She locks herself in the bathroom. And so Scottie, right next to their bathroom with a little fireplace, he grabs the hatchet, from the fireplace and just starts banging the bathroom door, just cutting it open. And finally, there's a hole, and he peeks his head inside. Here's Scottie, and so at this point in time, Meredith is freaking out, but Sam is in the background. Okay. He's seen Scottie like this before. He's known Scottie. He knows Scottie is a violent person. Usually, Scottie can just, you let him be and he'll cool off. But he could tell that this is different. This reminds him of last summer when the youth pastor at their church beat Scottie in a board game. And Sam really doesn't want to hide any more bodies at his uncle's farm. Like he doesn't, uncle might be selling that farm soon. He can't be hiding more of Scottie's bodies at that farm. So he realizes what he has to do. So he runs, he grabs Scottie and holds him back, because he was, going after Meredith with that axe. And so he holds Scottie back. And at this point in time, Scottie's lost it. He's lost all semblance of reality. He's yelling at Tom. He's going off on Tom. And that's a big time mistake. That's a big time mistake. At this point in time, Tom, after receiving all this foul mouth stuff from Scottie, looks at Scottie and says, "Does Tom Kim have to cut a bitch?" And he pulls out his butterfly knife, right? And the blade of that butterfly knife has tasted the blood of dozens of different types of men, right? And so he gets his butterfly knife out and he charges at Scottie. And, Scottie's defending himself and, Tom gets that little slice and that's how he gets that cut on his hand. And at that point in time, Meredith jumps in front of Tom and Scottie, stops the fight, and basically gives Scottie an ultimatum. He's like, you got to go to rehab. I'm going to leave you. You got to get better. And so that's really where Scottie is right now. He is at the Pacific Palisades Rehab
Hospital.
Center. There you go, down there. He did have to have surgery on his hand, but that's no problem. We just got to get through this rehab, get better, get his life back in order before he can come back onto the PGA Tour. So that is what I've heard happen to Scottie. Hopefully, or thoughts of prayers out to Scottie and Meredith. Hopefully they could work things out. Once again, hopefully Scottie gets over his issues of drugs and alcohol and all that stuff. And so that's where we are at this point in time with Scottie Scheffler.
You've got some extremely specific sources here, Kenny.
Sam Burns is the one that told me what happened.
When you were playing golf with him down in DC area there, Kenny.
Yeah, no, he just hit me up. Yeah. So that's what happened. And so
Kenny, that was one of
why Scottie's missing.
It was one of the best moments I've ever had on a podcast. Probably the back of my head is hurting from laughing so hard.
Now next week we'll come back for another episode of Boys in the Tour, or Three Jack City. Or AKA Don't Be a Menace on the PGA Tour while drinking your mimosa at Mar-a-Lago. So these episodes will come back and we'll go a little bit of a ghetto PGA Tour throughout the season. Next week we'll talk about Akshay Bhatia and his gun running business that he does on tour.
Just so the listeners are listening, I was unaware that this segment was coming into the show, so I'm as excited and surprised and thrilled about this. So Kenny, thank you as always.
Don't fuck with Akshay. He will shoot you. He will shoot you. He will shoot you. Tom's a cutter. Tom's got that blade on him at all times. Tom the Blade. Does Tom Kim have to cut a bitch? And that's what he said. And that's when you knew it was on.
Tommy Soprano. Jesus.
The man be slinging that dope. You gotta keep strapped.
So when he went 666 on the final 3 holes of his scorecard, that was not. He did that on purpose.
Yes,
to warn the tour. Like when I go 666,
well, no. He warned the tour last year because everyone thinks that Willie Z had a back surgery. Now, Willie owed Tom a whole bunch of money. And Tom took him, Tom warned him repeatedly. I don't want to do this to you. But he didn't pay. And so Tom went ahead and got his baseball bat out for this one and just repeatedly, hit him over the back over and over again until he needed that back surgery. And that really woke up everybody on tour to really see what type of person Tom is. Tom is not to be fucked with.
That's why the tour didn't allow him to make his way into the Sentry. So, woo, Kenny. But he is probably on Honolulu, waiting to take people out that owe him once they land on the main island there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So he's next week. I mean, he's there. He follows the tour. I mean, he knows that these addicts need him, especially Scottie. So,
Jesus Christ, Kenny, that was some prime content right there, my friend. I don't even know where to go next. We should be doing some bets, but is there anything else you want to add to the show so far?
No, I think that's good. Now that we got that out in the open, and Scottie knows that he has to be a better person, be a better man. Scottie, be a better man.
Okay, baby. So Scottie, well, you know what Scottie could have done is he could have kicked Tom back. Like once he sliced him, could have kicked him back there. But we will just leave it there and go to Kickback Golf Bets over here, because this is the betting segment brought to you by Kickback Golf. Use Fantasy Golf Degenerates. FGD 15 to save yourself 15% off. Christmas is behind you now, but if you're a terrible son, you can still get your dad a nice gift. Just go ahead, use FGD 15. A good way to go about it. There, they've got some sick cutoffs. They've got some nice baseball jerseys over there, all the PGA Tour players' names on them from their alma maters, which are pretty cool. The Pepperdine Sahith baseball jersey is very sick. The John Daly 69 Arkansas Razorback, even that you see me rock on here a few times, is awesome. Great quality, and it supports us. Kenny needs money, obviously, to keep these sources happy. So we are using this money to provide us with sources down in the South. So we really appreciate you guys. If you like to hear these stories from Kenny, please support the cause over Kickback Golf over there. Kenny, how many each ways did you have in 2024?
41. 41
Beautiful.
each ways in 2024, 7 outrights.
Let's freaking go, baby. Let's go. Let's go. I'm looking forward to a phenomenal year. As always, 3rd out of 4 years for me, knocking out the placement market. I was profitable doing my placement bets, my top 5s, my top 10s, my top 20s, because that's my bread and freaking butter, baby. So we're going to be bringing a few of those to the show as always. But let's get into some outrights, Kenny. I'll go ahead and tell you a few of mine before we get into yours. And I'm going Engage 8 principle here. So Engage 8, for those NFL people that don't know what Engage 8 is, it's when they bring 8 players to blitz the quarterback. It's an Engage 8. You rock and roll.
I thought that was like the visas that Indian people are getting and taking people's jobs. That's what I thought you were talking about at this point in time. But okay.
All right. 8 golfers. It's returning 6.5x, which is a little testy, but you know what? It's the first fucking tournament. Let's have ourselves a banger. Let's hit ourselves a winner. So going down from odds, I got Sahith the Gala 30-1. And these are all with each ways unless I mention otherwise. For 5 places or 6 places at Bet365 or Bet Rivers. Sahith the Gala 30-1. Benny On 40-1. Akshay Bhatia found a flat 40 over at FanDuel, which also, just to chat you, they've had DraftKings odds out the whole weekend. We're staring at 45s and 50s for Benny, Akshay. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to catch a book sleeping Monday morning when FanDuel drops something or whatever. Wake up this morning, it's 35 city, 30s. Like Sahith was nothing better than a 30. So I got caught sleeping a little behind the wheel there.
Well, it was Scheffler getting off the board sort of changes everything.
Right, but the reset this morning, like I was doing my research stream on Back 9 Bets. Go check out that YouTube channel, just by the way. And the odds were awesome still. So, they'd adjusted by then. And then this morning, the books reset and they went real bad. So, Sahith 30, Benny On 40, Davis Thompson 50, Max Griesemann 50, Jonathan Vegas 175-1, Jake Knapp 200-1, Akshay 40, like I said, and then JT Poston 45-1. So nothing shorter than 30-1. And I've got 8 guys here. So I like a lot of them. The general theme here is really good putters and guys with tons of distance for the most part. If you don't have distance, you need to be a good putter. If you've got both, we're going to fuck at this venue. So I'm all about these guys. I'm really excited to see what Sahith and Benny On can get up to. Kenny, what you got on your card?
Yeah, I'm not worried about distance at all this week. I know people are talking about it, but you look at the people who have like the course record here, KJ Choi, right? Graham McDowell, right?
Cam Smith.
These are the guys that have course records at this place. Now, Sanders has a course record here as well. He gets a little bit farther. Chris Kirk, not the longest guy. Now, when it comes to betting purposes, if you look in the last 15 years, 13 of the last 15 have been 33-1 or lower winners. The average,
good.
The average.
You told me that before I bet.
33-1 or higher. The only 2 that have been outside was like Jonathan Bird in like 2011. I think he was 50-1. And then last year, Chris Kirk was 125-1. Everybody else is, I think, on average around 18-1. Has been the winners for like the last 15 years. So the way I'm going about this is I'm taking 2 guys at the top. I could have went each way and just picked one of them, but instead I'm going win only with my first 2 guys. It's going to be Justin Thomas. It's going to be Colin Morikawa at 11-1 win only. And then also Justin Thomas 12-1 win only. Now, both of these guys have great history here. They both have been playing a lot better golf, this past season, even though they don't really have a win. under their thing. It's coming for both of them. The big thing about Morikawa that I like this year is how much he improved with his short game. Last season, his iron game sort of was not as good as it usually is, but I think it's because he put so much effort into his short game. His chipping and putting was the best it's ever been in his career. If he can get that iron game back to where it was one of the most elite in the game, and you add the chipping and putting, I think he's set for a big year. I think he wins the U.S. Open. I think Oakmont is going to be suited perfectly for him, but I think he's going to win this event too. It's either going to be him or JT. And again, JT, another guy who's been playing better as the year has gone on. He's sort of gotten off that slump, but the ball striking seems to be back where it needs to be. Again, his putter is the big thing, and he's won this event before. So the course history for both of these guys is there. Next, it's going to be Akshay. I took 8 places, so I only got 25 to 1 for him, but I got 8 places. Good showing at the Hero. Played well. A couple of top finishes to end the year on some weird events, yeah. But still, he's been out there. He had, I think, a top 15 last year, so he's not a first timer at this event. I think there's only 9 first timers in the last 11 years that have finished top 5 at this event. So not
you
many.
are just, where are these stats coming from, brother?
Not many.
Your sources
Not
are
many.
just incredible.
Like I said, it's the beginning of the year, so we get a little hype, and we're putting the work in. We're putting the work in. And so, I would probably avoid people who are playing here for the first time when it comes to betting. So my last bet is going to, I had Ben on, and I cashed him out. So if he wins, I'm going to be very, very pissed. But because again, it's his first time here, I'm hoping Ben actually plays horribly, so we can get a decent number on him next week at the Sony. Because I think he plays, and I think Sony's the one where he wins. So I do want to put a lot of money on Benny next week. So I'm hoping he has a shitty week. My final bet's going to be Eric Cole 70 to 1.
How do you just say that right after I just told you he's my outright?
Yeah, I know. Because that's the truth.
Kenny,
I really
my brother, where's the camaraderie?
There is no camaraderie. I only care about myself. Okay. And so last guy, Eric Cole, 70 to 1. Top 5 here last year. Played this event a couple of times. Finished pretty well both times. Played well in the fall, coming off a nice finish at his last event played. I do like Eric Cole 70 to 1 with 8 places. So that's my outright betting card for this week. I should have some underdog plays on Wednesday. I'll probably be focusing on more than birdies. And then if I'm going to go less than for birdies, I'm going to go with first timers. These greens are tricky. They are tough to putt on. They're large. You have to get with the elevation. It's tough for first timers here. And like, if you look at the names of the first timers that did well here, you're looking at John Rahm. You're looking at Brooks Koepka. You're looking at, Jordan Spieth, in his young prime. You're looking at Hideki Matsuyama. Like, these are the type of guys that finish top 5 here, their first time playing.
Masters comp champion kind of guys.
Basically, like, elite motherfuckers, right?
Yeah.
Is what you're looking at, and you don't see too many of the mid-tier guys getting in here and finishing in the top 5 for their first time using it. So I mean, I have the list here somewhere. Why don't you go ahead and I'll find there we go. I'll find all the names of the people that have finished top 10. Oh, here we go. I got it. No, I don't. Go ahead.
Okay. Can I go? Yeah, man, I'm going to give it a bash. So I've got 2 placement bets for you guys. I will knock out the rest on my show tomorrow, back 9 bets 7 Eastern on Mayo Media. While you're watching the show as well, please give it a like. Support Pat. He does a lot of great stuff for us. We need Mayo Media to get to 100,000 subs. We need to get there.
One thing we do want to mention is make sure you join the race for the Mayo Cup. You can sign up. It's $250. You can sign up until before Sony.
Yep.
I think it's $1 million in prizes. First place gets $100K. So make sure you sign up. Fantasy Golf Championships. Go there. Sign up for the race to the Mayo Cup.
I'm going to be in that, so we can chat. We can bring some one and done to the show as well going forward in the Sony. My 2 placement bets, friends. The first one, and before I do this, I want to preface you with some betting strategy, because this is a bet for a top 10 at -190, and it's got no ties paid in full. As always, I always preach, when you're betting, you want to get ties paid in full, because if you land up with 2 or 3 guys tied for 4th, and you're betting a top 5, or it goes through that top placement market, you're going to get chopped by how many guys got over the 5, got over the 10. So you want ties paid in full. You're going to get less odds, less exciting odds, but you typically, I did the math. I did a whole article. I'll go find it and share it, because people were always wondering, you want to go ties paid in full or take the better odds with no ties, dead heats involved? So I'm going to take dead heats here, because my mathematics and my research proved that when you take negative odds, if you bet the same exact number with ties paid in full, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze, because you're betting negative odds. Those are the better golfers. So as a result, they're going to be towards the upper tier of that bet. So -190 is around that 60%, 63% range, which happens more often than not, whereas plus money bet, +100 is like 50-50 kind of shout. So when you are in the plus money side of things, you want to be using ties paid in full, because those are more iffy. Guys that you're betting on in those price ranges are likely going to find themselves closer to a 4th place when you're betting a top 5, a 9th place when you're betting top 10, like those kind of things. When you're betting guys super low odds, they're typically going to be the top of those when they cash. So just thought I'd mention that out. So top 10, Xander Schauffele at this venue. I mean, this guy's been absolutely crushing it over here. If you take a look at his last few times he's been out here, 10th last year, WD'd back in 23, 12th in 2022, 5th in 21, 2nd, and won it in 2019. So, I mean, those are his last few starts. This guy's incredible at this venue. -190 for a top 10. Also, the edge is there. If you take a look at Xander's overall top 10 placements in the last year, he's done it 72% of the time. So -190 implies that it's a 66% bet, but he's done it 72% of the time, and he's number 1 in the field in my model. So he is a smash bet for top 10. Then I'm going to go to another top 10 bet. Sam Burns. I've got a big edge for him in top 10 market and a top 20 market. The reason I'm not going to the top 20 market is that's -110. These are ties paid in full. So we're going to +240 for Sam Burns, top 10. I don't want to go to him in the top 20 market there, because he's one of these dudes that if you take a look at what Sam Burns has been up to, he finishes inside the top 10 like 43% of the time, and only inside the top 20 63% of the time. So it's not, you're typically looking for it to be double if you want to go to that next bet, right? So 43 needs to be 86 if you're going to be going to that next bet. He doesn't quite do it. So there's certain guys that finish in certain ranges a lot more. So that 43%, and you're also not laying as much juice. You're like betting less. So if he loses, it's not that big of a deal. My big concern, although he's been playing amazing golf and finishing inside the top 10 quite religiously, is his best finisher is a 19th. So he's struggled here historically, but this course doesn't have the most course history correlation. Sam Burns is playing amazing golf. Technically, he checks out amazing for this golf course. Great driver, amazing putter on Bermuda grass, So we can see what Sam Burns gets up to, +240 for a top 10. He's been doing that basically 4 out of every 10 times he's teed it up. So we can expect him to take care of business for us this week. Those are my 2 placement bets for you guys for the Kickback Golf segment. Use code FGD15 to support Kenny's local sources down in the South. We really appreciate you guys for your generosity over there. All right, Kenny. There's no Kims of the week. There's only 2 Koreans. I know people wanted Kenny's Kim of the week, but I think we've got Benny On and Tom Siwoo Kim this week.
Yep, and Sungjae is in there. We got the Koreans in
and
there. Before we move on, let's pay some bills.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. I personally like the pick'em games. Pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. Can win up to 100 times your money in a single night. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. Can also make rivals picks, which pits 2 players against each other. Now, the reason I like the pick'em games is because of these things called scorchers. There's these little chili peppers next to the golfers' names, and if you click on that, it adds to your multiplier, so you can win even more money. Sign up today with promo code Mayo and get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant pick'em special. Must be 18 or over and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
All right, so let's get to the course for this week. PGA Tour is back with the Sentry. The field, used to consist just of winners in the last 52 weeks on tour, but the PGA added a new wrinkle a couple of years ago, where if you finished in the top 50 in the FedEx Cup rankings the year before, you will be in this event also. There is no cut. Golfers will play 72 holes unless there's a withdrawal. When it comes to, GPP and cash game strategy, I'm going to play my normal amount. It's the beginning of the year. You know what I'm saying? And with so many events being no cut events, not playing cash in those is just not going to be fun. It's just, so I'm going to go ahead, even though they have a cut, I'm going to play cash in these events. Strategy, three studs, nobody under 6,900. Basically is what I'm looking at for my cash games lineups for this week. Now, weather, of course, is always going to be a factor at this event. We saw in 2020 a lot of wind really dried the course out, made the greens very, very firm. That was the year that they redid the greens. And so, of course, they're going to be a little bit more firm at that point in time. Since then, the grass has grown back a little bit. What we're seeing this week, at least early on Monday, is it looks like there's going to be rain. Scattered rain throughout all 4 days. Maybe Sunday we might catch a break. And when we're looking at wind, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday don't seem horrible. Thursday is the day where it looks like there could be some gusts. Right now, I'm seeing gusts up to 30 miles per hour on Thursday. So that's something we'll have to pay attention to. Again, this is a little bit different since there really isn't waves. Everyone's teeing off and they're just going back to back to back to back. But pay attention to where they are when it comes to the weather. You might find like an hour wave advantage sometime, something like that. Just keep an eye on that as the week goes on. Like I said, a couple of tidbits going into this week. 12 of the last 15 winners here have played some type of golf. Even if it's a shit and giggle PNC, the Hero, something over in South Africa or Asia or something like that. 12 of the last 15 winners have actually played in the month of December. Now, 5 of the last 9 winners have all won either a FedEx Cup playoff event or a Fall Series event leading up to their victory. A couple things right there. On the Plantation course, Kapalua. 7,600-yard par 73, 4 par 5s and only 3 par 3s. The course is unlike any other on tour. It's built on the side of a mountain and near the coast. So elevation changes, amazing views, all that good stuff. The course is not as long as the yardage suggests due to these massive elevation changes. It's actually probably on one of the shorter courses on tour. If you really break down the numbers,
fundamentally,
when you break down all the elevation changes. And also, there's only 3 par 3s. So again, that makes the course much, much shorter. At first glance, you're going to expect bombers, right, to do well, to have an edge. And that's a lot of talk about bombers at this event year in and year out. I don't really see that. Personally, I don't think you need to be a bomber to get it. First off, you're going to hit it a little bit farther because there's massive rollout here. Now we'll see because of the rain how soft it gets. But usually there's a real long amount of rollout. Usually the ball lands somewhere on the bottom of a hill and it keeps on rolling until it gets to the valley. That's how and it goes back up again to the greens. A lot of the holes are designed in that way. So you're just going to see a lot of people hoping and praying that, their ball doesn't land in a ball mark, or in a divot, because there's going to be a lot of places like where we see balls just go. Now, and again, like, the guys who have the course record here, KJ Choi, Graham McDowell, not the longest guys. Harris English 1 year a few years ago, not exceptionally long. Chris Kirk 1 year last year, not exceptionally long. I think, iron play, especially inside of 150 and 200 and outside of 200 yards, is going to be more important than bombing a ball off the tee. But of course, length isn't going to hurt. Now, nearly 40% of all approach shots have come inside 150. Nearly 40% of have also come from over 200. So those are going to be your two sweet spots. Now, golfers are good with wedges, good long iron players. Those are the ones to really, really keep an eye on. And also, this can be a putting contest. So guys who tend to putt well, like who's the guy? Grayson is a guy that that interests me this week because of how good he is at putting. His iron game isn't great. It's actually one of the worst in the field, but his strengths, at least recently, have been from 125 to 150 and 200 plus. In the last 24 rounds, he's actually inside the top 20 in this field in both of those statistics. And so you add the fact that he is an elite putter who gains, crazy strokes. I know Andy Lack, he has a new site out there. Everyone go check it out. I think it's called ISN. And he was talking about nuclear putters, golfers who can, gain 3 strokes or more putting, at least, every other event or something like that. And Grayson, when he falls into that, I think 12% of his rounds, he gets three strokes gain putting or more. So shout out Andy Lack on that info. Now, off the tee, golfers are going to see huge fairways with very little rough to contend with. Over 70% of all fairways have been hit on this course over the years. The golfers can bomb it out there this week with little penalty for missing the fairways unless they hit it into one of like the 90 bunkers on the course. Usually there's a ton of rollout, like I said, on this course, and that always keeps the shorter hitters in play. Plus you add the elevation changes. Now golfers are exceptionally wild off the tee. There is some high rough. This rough is like where you could lose golf balls, like Justin Thomas in 2020 or 2017, maybe. When he played, he was on his way to a victory here. And I think on the back 9, he hit it into some really, really high grass. It took him the whole 5 minutes to find it. He really should not have found the ball. Luckily, he did. He ended up winning that event. But it easily could have been a lost ball, and Hideki could have won that year. So really, the only way you're going to get these big numbers is if you're fucking crazy wild off the tee and super, super unlucky. Now, the fairways themselves are very hilly and undulating. On approach shots, golfers are going to see very large undulating greens as well. These greens are some of the largest on tour. 80% of all approaches, over the years have landed on the green, especially if you take out 2020. Now, this number definitely dropped in 2020 due to the firmness of the greens and the wind. Last couple of years, the green regulation percentage came back to normal, closer to 80%. What used to make these Bermuda grass greens really difficult was how slow they were. The greens have looked a little bit quicker since the green redesign in 2020. Instead of like 10 and a half on the stimp, you're looking at around 11 on the stimp since 2021. First timers have struggled to top 5 here, but since the changes to the greens in 2020, it might be a little bit easier for first timers to play well on the course. One of the main advantages veterans have had at this event over the years is knowing exactly where the pin locations will be. Prior to 2021, there was only so many spots on the greens to put the flag because of the crazy slope and undulations of these greens. Since they sort of tapered that away and didn't make them as wild after 2020, there's a lot more areas where the PGA can put the cup for the event. It's not just stagnated in 3 or 4 designated spots where all these veterans know this is where it's going to be. This is where it's going to be. They could put a little bit of variety in that. And I think that makes a really, really big difference because when it comes to a lot of the times when it comes to course history, it's about reading the greens and having that skill and seeing these greens over and over again and knowing that even though this looks like it might be going a little bit left, it actually goes a little bit right. Those are like the key things when it comes to course history. And without that advantage that the veterans usually have, knowing exactly where these spots are, I think it levels the playing field just a little bit. And we saw last year, Benny On, was one of the ones who finished top 5 in his first try. Now, the other guys are Spieth, Hideki, Rahm, Rory, Tom Kim, and Koepka. Right. So it's a lot of like the studs who played here the first time. So I'm still a little hesitant on some mid-tier guys in the 6K range who have never played this event before. Definitely not playing any of those guys in cash. My cash lineup is going to be filled with guys who have played this course before. What are you looking for in golfers this week?
So, Kenny, you mentioned that it's 80% green regulation rate. So you'd imagine the around the green metrics aren't going to be as significant as they should be. But it seems like tour average, it's 1% more important than tour average at this venue, correlation-wise, for around the green play. So I think it's got to do with maybe the 4 par 5s and that additional drivable par 4. So that's 5 holes where your green regulation rate might come by a chip. So that's kind of the interesting thing. If you just think, okay, these guys are going to be pounding greens, sure, but 5 of them are going to be chips, so that's where it's interesting. Like you can think, okay, a lot of iron play is actually a little significantly downplayed by 2% at this golf course. So accuracy.
I think that the difference is if it's going to be wet and soft, I think the greens are going to be hit a little bit more. And I understand what you're saying. And I know Joe Idone spoke of this on his show, Preferred Lines. Make sure you go subscribe to his shit because he's also going to be covering the TGL. He's got press passes, so that's going to be pretty cool. So he was talking about how short game does seem a little bit more difficult. We've seen people lose the event with short game. The first person that comes to mind is Colin Morikawa. A couple of years ago when I had him, of course, with that outright. And that was a horrible way to start that season. With him, I think, 6 strokes up with not many holes and ended up losing. And a lot of that had to do with the short game, but he shouldn't have been in those situations, right? With the greens this large and you're hitting 80%, I get it. Like, maybe you're going to lose a couple of shots and you don't want to do that. But overall, I mean, I don't know how much I am really going to pay attention to short game going into this. It seems like you are. It seems like it's different.
Well, if you got a tiebreaker or if you're looking to kind of find a leverage option, you can lean into the around the green stuff, kind of just finding, think about Cam Smith. He's won this thing, Chris Kirk, very tidy around the greens. So like we said, there's 4 par 5s, another drivable par 4. I looked into, because Cam Young is incredibly gifted when it comes to his skill set, and he tends to fuck up par 5s like way more often than he should. So I looked into, okay, what exactly goes into like a par 5 scoring? I went and pulled in like par 5 birdie or better average and par 5 average, the average score on the par 5s. And around the green play is a big, big deal. Long irons, distance, and around the green play. Because you're hitting from so far away, your likelihood of hitting the green from 250 yards, 225, significantly less than a wedge. So that's possibly where Cam Young has his issues, is he lands up hitting them into weird spots and can't get up and down where most people can. So it is important, but I wouldn't say it's a be-all, end-all situation, as always. But, with 80% green regulation rate, it's not going to be significant. But if you're looking for a little deal breaker, if one guy has better around the green play, go with that dude. He's likely not going to be as highly owned if he has other poor metrics in other spots. So that's just something I wanted to mention. I agree with everything else you mentioned there, Kenny. It's going to be the best. I love night golf. Just watching these guys play as you're laying in bed, it's always the best to fall asleep to the beautiful sounds of Mark Ruffalo talking about the trade wins.
Mark Ruffalo, isn't that the Incredible Hulk?
Who's the ruffling? Who's the guy that?
It is 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Ruffalo is the Incredible Hulk. So I would.
Who's the guy that's? I need to figure this out.
Sounds like Scottie. Sounds like Scottie over the break.
Scottie with 8 fucking Johnny Walker Blues. Yeah. He's got to really, really get his shit together.
Who am I thinking of? The guy that lives out in Hawaii.
Mark Rolfing.
There we go.
Mark Rolfing.
That's close. The one guy's wearing the shirt, the other's not.
The Incredible Hulk and Mark Rolfing is not close.
Okay, my brother, but Mark Ruffalo, I mean, it's literally 90% of the name, like,
Okay.
so,
I would like to
okay.
see the Incredible Hulk, commentate on golf. It might make it better, right? Like a
But you have to
tradition
have him-
unlike any other. Smash.
But you have to give him he has to be placing bets on
Hello,
this stuff so he can tilt.
friends. Hulk smash. Hello, friends. Sorry, go ahead.
All right, folks. Moving on from a tragic Mark Ruffling situation there into some DFS tiers. Some DFS strategy, like Kenny said, we had time to play cash in these no-cut events, but if everyone's got to do it, there might be an edge that you're not quite thinking about. So let's get into some DFS metrics. Let's chat about some tiers. We've got Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy both out on the
Why don't we talk about 9K and up then?
Yes.
Because all we got is Xander and we got Morikawa in that 10K range. 9K is pretty strong as well. And I'll just go with my first 2 cash game cornerstones right off the break. It's going to be Justin Thomas at 9,700. Again, I spoke about him already in the betting segment. All that applies. Second one is going to be Sung Jae Im. Again, playing better. The guy plays extremely well at no-cut events. And like, if you look at his numbers from last year, I think he had like maybe 7 top 10s, 8 top 10s, and like 6 of them were signature events. Right? Or something like that. Like around that number, like top 15s, top 20s. I think he only had like 8, and like 6 of them were in signature events. Like he was garbage on basically at all the events outside the signature events. He was top 10 in the money last year. And he really, didn't win anything. Wasn't really close to winning anything, except maybe except maybe this tournament last year. And so the guy just shows up when the money's on the line. He's becoming like, he used to be the guy who just played every event. Now he's the guy who shows up at these big money events and just balls the fuck out. The guy who took his place is Eric Cole. Eric Cole, who I think should be the #1 draft pick in most Underdog best ball drafts. He's become the white Sung Jae Im. But I'm going to go with Sung Jae, who's played well at this course before, who's had some good outings in the fall. I'm just going to go ahead with him as my second cash game cornerstone. Other guys that I do like, I love Morikawa this week. Again, we talked about Morikawa during the betting segment. I will eat the Morikawa chop in GPPs. He's probably going to be my highest own. I expect big, big, big things from Morikawa this year. And I like Finau down in the low 9K range. His ball striking year from this past year was, people have just been overlooking it. When it comes to ball striking, when it comes to his iron play, it was one of his better years of his career. And I think people are going to overlook that. So I'm going to go with Tony down there in the low 9K range. Who do you like?
And he's speaking about Tony. I'm a dad now, so I can roll with this transition as a dad joke. He's had meniscus surgery. Tony, what do you think about that heading to a hilly area?
Yeah, I mean, if it was bothering him, he wouldn't play. I'm hoping it keeps his ownership down. If he's going to play an event like this where the walking is not fun, I would expect him to be in good shape unless he's out there. Then again, you got to think Tony owes a lot of people money, and this is free money. So yeah, maybe something to worry about. He could go out there and pull a fucking burger and go and hit one ball and then withdraw and collect that last place money. But I'm going to go with it. I think his ownership is going to be low. It's GPPs. You go ahead and take that risk.
Sure. GPPs, I'm cool with that.
Now, do you take the risk with Hovland?
I wouldn't play him here anyway. He just hasn't played well here. He hasn't played well in general. So I think he's kind of mispriced in a weird way, given he's very inconsistent, although it's just got one of the worst top 20 rates in this field. So of the higher end guys. So I also wanted to mention Sung Jae Im. Kenny's got the 3rd best points per start here at Kapalua. The others were, I think, Benny On and Chris Kirk, which have limited starts, but I also weight that down every time you have, I use 8 starts, and then if you have one, you're knocking off like 7. So you lose a lot of points in that case. But Benny On, Chris Kirk, and then Sang JM. He's been playing amazing golf at this venue. Justin Thomas is right there at 120 points per tournament. So I'm going to go with Sam Burns at $9,000. Like I mentioned earlier, I love his top 10 bets. Hasn't got the greatest course history, and often you see course history correlate with ownership. And I think we can get away with kind of going sneaky with Sam Burns. If you're looking to play a Colin Morikawa, you can pair him up with the Sam Burns potentially, because that average ownership between the two guys there is going to be probably in the teens, versus going JT Colin Morikawa. That's going to be both guys 20 plus, easy. So just a little leverage play down there at 9K. Yes, Kenny?
Guesses on Xander's ownership.
I have no idea, my friend. I'm assuming it's going to be close to 30. Potentially even higher. I mean, he's easily the best golfer in this field.
Morikawa or Xander?
I think the simulators
JT.
love. I think it's going to be Colin. You know, he's what, $1,100 cheaper or $900 cheaper than.
So if Colin's
Xander?
going to be the most owned, does it make sense to play Xander? Because if you look at that, there's going to be nobody with it. I mean, Cantlay is interesting, but I don't think it's going to be popular. Oberg, interesting, but I don't think it's going to be popular. So you got Xander sitting at $11,000, and you know, if Morikawa is going to be the highest owned in that $98,000 to $11,000 range, does that make it worth playing a lot of Xander?
I think so, Kenny. I mean, that's a great leverage option. You're getting a stud. You're likely getting a top 10 from the dude. And Colin, you know, he kind of got off to a very poor finish of the season. So you never know what he shows, but he loves this venue. So that's the problem with Colin. It's anything's possible when it comes to this Kapalua venue for Colin Morikawa. Some other names that I'm not too worried about going to. I think Patrick Cantlay kind of always flies under the radar. He's got a sneaky good course history at this golf course as well. He's got the 6th best course history for.
I think he makes a really good pivot from Kawa. Like if you're looking to play the ownership game and you're looking for the pivot, I think Cantlay's the guy.
Yeah, both guys have got absolutely zero winning potential, but they'll definitely finish second for you. Might as well just get Cantlay at less ownership. So I think that's the way to go over there. My computer's frozen, Kenny, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I'll definitely be playing Xander if I don't go with Colin. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm going to be playing Xander instead of Colin if I do play one of the two. Just because, like you mentioned there, I think we're going to get some good ownership leverage at the $11,000 price tag. Who have you got in the 8s?
The 8K range, my third cash game cornerstone is going to be Bhatia. We spoke about him already earlier. You know, when it comes, a couple of good finishes towards the end of the fall, good finish here last year. Really, I like how he played the hero. I know it was a hit and giggle, but he's playing against the big boys and he's not scared of them. And so I do like Bhatia as my third cash game cornerstone. Just going down here, Theegala, again, another good finish last year. I think he was runner-up, if I'm not mistaken. Played well. I think he could do well. Guy, I like Grayson a lot at this 8K range. When Andy spoke of nuclear putters, he's one of them. And if you look in the last 50 rounds, when you look at proximity from 125 to 150, Grayson is 4th in this field. In the last 50 rounds. If you look at proximity from 200 plus, he's 13th in this field in the last 50 rounds. So that's a pretty big sample size. It's not small. And he's actually 6th in par 5 scoring. That one could be a little bit skewed because he plays some easier courses than a lot of these upper echelon guys. But he's still, 6th in the field in strokes gained on par 5s. So, get a couple of crazy nuclear putting, rounds from him. I think he can contend, be in that top 10 at 8,000.
Yeah. Interesting that you're going with a newbie, a rookie, like you mentioned, not going to be playing them in GPPs, or if you go with Max Griesemann. So
I'm not playing him in cash. I'm not playing
cash.
I'm not playing him in
My
cash.
bad.
I'll
Yes,
play him in
okay.
GPPs. Makes
Tons of sense then. Yes. I love him too. I've bet the guy, obviously, I think amazing stuff. Last 50 rounds, he's averaging a stroke per round. And he's nuclear with the putter, but he's also very consistent. So it's got a high floor. And yes, his iron play is not the best, but he's gaining half a stroke off the tee. So at a venue like this, you're going to be putting wedges in his hands a lot more than you expect other people to have. I'm okay with him kind of like taking advantage of having a wedge in there and making longer putts than most people can too. So I love Max Griesemann in a big, big way. over there. Love Benny on, Kenny, as you mentioned. I think he's going to be quite popular after a T5 year last year. I think he loves Hawaii golf, Bermuda grass. We've got some good comps over there for him. Not much to mention more about Benny on. We know how good of a golfer he's got. Tons of distance, found his putter, great iron play when he's feeling it. Wyndham Clark at $8,800 got off to a decent finish of the year, Kenny. He started rattling off very good finishes. Got a little wobble there after Scottie Scheffler's took his soul in like back-to-back tournaments at the API and the Players. Wyndham finished second both times to Scottie. I was on him both times. So I had a rough year with the outrights, but man, I had a ton of second places. So it's okay. I had Sahithya and Benny on at the Sony last year. So it is what it is. You know, you just take it as you come, take it on the chin. So I'm going to go with some Wyndham Clark. I think Akshay is going to be very popular. And what I like about Akshay is he doesn't provide you with like safety as a golfer. He's very hit and miss. You know, if you take a look at his top 20 rates, it's like 40%, but he played in a lot of signature events, but then he's got only a 13% top 10 rate. It's one of the worst in this field, you know, of the top end guys. I mean, just looking at mine, $9,000 and above, to find the next worst person, it's Brian Harman with $7,400. That's matching him at 10% top 10 rate. So actually, it doesn't give you as much upside as you think. And I think he comes in very high owned often. So I'm out on him. He's going to be my fade for sure. I'm going to pivot to Wyndham Clark, who people don't necessarily like to play. He has got incredible upside. I mean, take a look at Wyndham Clark. He's got 33% top 10 rate. So
well,
he
you
doesn't
look at
play
the wide fairways, you know, like LACC, like API, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it makes sense.
And he didn't play well in the majors. His best finish was a 59th, missed 3 other cuts in the majors, but he dominated the designated events. He was a designated dominator. So shout out to Dog Dominator there. But Wyndham Clark, absolutely great course fit. Fancy his chances in a big way. I've got him ranked 4th in upside in my model. It's a big difference between, you know, that's a 7-spot jump between his actual DFS price and where I have him ranked. So lots of exciting names. Thoughts on Russell Henley, Kenny? Is he this year's Chris Kirk? I call Russell Henley the Sex Panther because 60% of the time he's inside the top 20 all the time. And I was betting him top 20 quite a lot, but now he's kind of found this random, incredible short game, and that's consistency's left, but he's kind of been popping a little bit. Do you think he could be this year's Chris Kirk at $8,300?
His wedge play has been really good. I worry about him on par 5s just a little bit, since so much of the scoring does come from those 4 holes every round. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not the biggest fan of the 8K range, so it could be the dead zone. It could be where you want to be, right? When it comes to it, if I'm not a fan of the chalk guy, it could be where you want to be. Now the 7K range, I like Taylor Penrith. What he's been doing with the putter has been really strong. And his iron game, really good. You know, he's been in top 25 with his irons in the last 50 rounds in his field, top 5 in putting. Makes a ton of birdies. Really good on par 5s. I'm going to try to keep going on the Keegan Bradley heater. I mean, everything's just coming up roses for this guy, right? I mean, he's had good finishes. He was in contention, you know, at some events later in the year. You know, he has that that President's Cup win. He's going to be the Ryder Cup captain this year. He's trying to make the team. You know, it seems like as a ball striker, that could be something where he can get down. I like Austin Eckroat down here and cheap. Again, the stats aren't going to be the greatest. But, you know, when it comes to long iron play, he's definitely solid. Proven winners, won twice on tour. I think I can get on board with him at $7,100. Who do you like in the 7K range?
I don't mind Davis Thompson, Kenny. $7,900 is someone first-timer. But like you mentioned on the preview show, this guy's tee to green game has been incredible. When you think about spike putting, the John Deere Classic, he went nuclear with the putter, could not miss. I was walking with him. That was awesome to enjoy. I think he's someone that I'm definitely going to be hitching my wagon to. Taylor Pendrith, when I looked and filtered on long, easy courses just off of yardage, CJ Cup, he won that thing. Now, we mentioned this isn't a long golf course. Neither is the CJ Cup. You know, it is a long golf course, but it's easy. So these long, easy venues, he's won at before. So I don't mind him whatsoever. He's actually grading out very nicely for me at 7,500 smackaroos as well. He's a nice play. I think Siwoo Kim, if you're looking for a semi-cash game type of play, he's often going to provide you with decent safety down here in the $7,800 range. Not as much upside as you would imagine. I think he's only finished inside the top 5, like 7% of his starts or 5% there. Another name that's at the bottom of this range here, Jake Knapp. This is Mexico. If you think about the Mexico Open at Vedanta, long golf course, wide open golf course, easy golf course, biggish greens, different field, but Jake Knapp, $7,300. He made a ton of birdies at the RSM. Played like shit, but the wind was up. It was more difficult than easy. So give him a similar kind of a venue as where you won at Vedanta. This guy's got tons of distance. Not going to have to worry. I mean, the RSM is not a good course fit for Jake Knapp. Let's be honest. You know, it's constraint, and this place is amazing. So give me Jake Knapp. As always, dad jokes. I think people are sleeping on the Napster there. So we're going to see what he can get up to for us. Denny McCarthy is always a sneaky option, Kenny, at $7,000 flat. I think.
Or get nuclear putter.
A nuclear putter. You know, that's the thing. Him and Austin Eckroat, if you think of both of those guys, Austin Eckroat's, what did he? He stole our soul at the another Mexico tournament, you know, at the Worldwide Technology there. He went crazy. I think he made 9 birdies through the first 12 holes to win that tournament on Sunday. Insane stuff. So, like, he is in good form, so to speak. I mean, that was the second last tournament they played. So Eckroat is playing some good golf, and he grades out quite nicely at comp courses too. So I like that a lot about Austin Eckroat. Brian Harman's also not the worst pivot play. If you're looking for a serious, he doesn't grade out the best, but if you're looking for someone that can kind of get away with some low ownership, he's my guy. In the sixes, Kenny, where are we going?
So the popular play is going to be Eric Cole. He's going to be my 4th cash game cornerstone, my final cash game cornerstone. We're just going to go. I'm not worried about the ownership when it comes to cash, so it doesn't really bother me. Again, a top 5 here, top 10 here last year, runner-up in his last event in the fall, or top 5 in the last event in the fall. Seems like Chris Kirk-esque type of game. The crazy thing is how good he is on par 5s. So strong on par 5s. He gets a lot of his scoring there. Makes a fair amount of birdies. So my cash game cornerstones for the week are going to be Justin Thomas at 9,700. Sung J M at 9,500, Akshay Bhatia at 8,900, and Eric Cole at 6,900. Now, if you're looking for a pillar off Cole, I really like Harry Hall. So Harry found something in the fall when it came to his lines. It used to be one of the more poor parts of his game, and in the fall, it was actually a strength. And then comparing fall type courses to this courses, not crazy. You know, you're seeing a lot of easier courses in the fall. His long iron game, especially from 200 out, has improved like, I don't even know, like leaps and bounds. Like if you look at it in the last 50 rounds, his proximity from 200 plus is 41st in this field. In the last 24 rounds, his proximity from 200 plus is 7th in this field. So that's showing how much he's improved in the fall. With his long irons, he's putting the work in. So I do like Harry Hall a lot as a pivot in this area. I think Willie Z is playable at $6,900. Again, I think he was runner-up 11th here last year. Runner-up the next week at the Sony, if I'm not mistaken. It sort of likes Hawaii. It makes sense. If a guy has back problems, warm weather, usually what you're looking for. And so I'll definitely play a little bit of Willie Z. I actually don't mind him in cash to go along with Cole. And then going from that direction, you seem like you don't agree.
I don't like Willie Z on easy courses. He just doesn't make enough birdies. He's like a tough venue place, you know, like.
That does make a lot of sense. I get that, but $6,900 at a guy that I think has played this course before, we'll see. I don't know if I can go with Harry Hall in cash, but I'm definitely going to play a bunch of them in GPPs. I would need a 6,900 guy or below.
$6,700 Thomas Dietrich.
Yeah.
He's a bit more
I could
safe.
see-
And if you're looking for like high upside, I'll give you a guy called Tom Hoagie, who's got a 3rd place finish here. And we can see that guy go nuclear. Now, he's
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the last 2 spots aren't necessarily set in stone. I do have Thiegler in there, and that's sort of why I want to go down to the 6K range, because I do like Thiegler, and having 4 guys 8,600 and above, not horrible. And then no 7K guys and 2 guys at 6,900 is basically how I'm making my lineup for this week. But we'll see. I mean, you might have talked me out of Willie Z, because you're probably right. I think he is better on courses where it doesn't take too many birdies, though he did have to finish 11th here last year, which I would take for a $6,900 golfer. Other guys, I think Pavone, when it comes down to it, it's like ultimate GPP play at like $6,200.
Yes.
The reason why he's either going to finish dead last or he could top 10 for you. His strength, again, wedges and lines are his strength. You go down, I think Jonathan Vegas is another guy that you can look at, in this lower 6K range. Who do you like?
I like Johnny Vegas, but he's also like, I took him at 175 to 1 to win the thing, but he's upside, he just didn't have any other top 10s outside of that 3M. So maybe at courses that he plays, I mean, he's played well here before, I think, too. So, but I will tell you as well, Tom Hoagie in best ball, I don't know why he's going in the 4th round. He plays as many tournaments as Eric Cole, friends. So if you made it this long into the show, here's my nugget for you. Go draft Tom Hoagie in round 1, because that way you're getting different, because everyone's drafting him in round 4. So take Tom Hoagie, then you take additional round 3 and 4 guys when you should be taking Tom Hoagie. That's how I got different. I drafted 33% of Tom Hoagie in 150 lineups. So I've got $500 invested into this guy. I don't know how comfortable I am about that. Nico Echeverria. Has this guy just found some form in the fall? He likes these tropical destinations, playing some solid golf, $6,500. Matt McCarty. I mean, let's party with McCarty. Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun time with him at $6,400. He can putt lights out, Kenny. Doesn't have the tons of distance that we're looking for, but amazing putter. If you're playing a lot of contests and you need another $6,300 guy, Nick Taylor is someone that doesn't necessarily have the best upside. The best consistency, but Jesus, he can, when he gets hot, I mean, he could win this tournament. Would you not be surprised if he won this thing?
Again, wedge game and long iron play.
Yeah.
Real strong.
Yeah. You wouldn't also be surprised if he literally finishes last, though. So that's the thing you're getting with Nick Taylor. And then Patton Kazaya, I think he's played nicely. The one time he showed up here, it was a 8th place finish back in 2019 for old PK. So I don't mind him either at $6,200. So some interesting names down in the bottom here, Kenny. I think you're going to have to lean into these 6K options if you're looking to get stacked up top there. And they've all won tournaments or finished inside the top 50, so they're there for a reason. So they're not the worst golfers in the world.
Yep. Anybody
Boom.
else?
That's it for me, baby.
All right. Log off.
Let's go. I'm excited. 2025, baby.
I was saying, you're going to tell them where they can find you?
Yeah, I can definitely do that for you. Sorry, I'm zoning out. My child's crying upstairs, and I'm just like all over the place. We can be found, myself, the Model Maniac, on X. Go check out my Patreon, the Model Maniac, where you can find my Dog Dominator. That is over there too. I'll be on Back Nine Bets on Tuesday nights at 7 Eastern. I'm doing a Sunday night preview, like a research stream. I've got some badass new tools I've developed. So I did that on Sunday nights as well, but on my OG Back Nine Bets channel over there on YouTube. So everything's going on over there. And Rotoballer, I've got my own toolkit package over there for you guys to use. I got my placement tool now that I've developed, a matchup tool. I've got all sorts of shit. I've got my own personal Rotoballer Discord. Let's party over at Rotoballer. Come visit me over there. Kenny, what's up?
Find me on X at KendoVT. You could find my article. I don't know if it's going to be on gupscorner.com. I have a call Gup today, so we shall see. I'm not really sure what's going on. I did turn in an article today, so we'll see if it's going to be posted. I'll probably let you guys know what's happening with that next week. But make sure you go check out our sponsors at Underdog. Use promo code Mayo. Get yourself a deposit match up to $1,000. Go to kickbackgolf.com. Use promo code FGD15. Get yourself 15% off all their cool merch. Make sure you go to Byron's Patreon, get the Dog Dominator to dominate your Underdog best ball for this season. All right. Thoughts and prayers to Scottie and Meredith. Let's win some motherfucking money. DJ Nation.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort, stacking pennies.